Perfect. We're good to go. So thank you very much for joining this session today on how to identify potential research collaborators using different tools. So in this session, I'm going to give you a brief introduction about why collaboration are important. And then I'm going to show you how to use different tools to identify collaborators. Okay. So what are collaboration? If you actually look to the dictionary, so on the dictionary, you can find that collaboration are defined as individuals that are working together to achieve a common goal. So if you think in a research setting, actually a collaboration is what we refer as research partnership, in which you have a researcher that collaborates with sometimes with other stakeholders outside of academia, and they work together on a project with a common goal that is to make a substantial contribution to science. And you might tell me, but why do I have to collaborate with someone? Okay, you can make a substantial collaboration to science on your own, right? However, it has been proved, so there is quite a lot of evidence out there that said that collaboration brings benefits for different kind of aspects. So first of all, for example, if you are at the early stages in your career, or if you are also at different stages, so in a more advanced stage of your career, so there are evidence that collaboration actually helps you to advance in your career, and this because they help you to expand your network, right? So you work with someone else that is maybe outside of your country, so your network directly expands, and this will help you to maybe find a job afterwards, or to meet other people, to start new projects and stuff like that. So they really advance. They're really a help to advance a career. And it's not only that. For example, collaboration are very useful if you're working on a research project, but you need maybe some facility that are very expensive, or some kind of equipment, lab equipment that are expensive and your university doesn't have. So for example, this happens if you have to use some medical, very expensive equipment like MRI scanner and stuff like that. So you might not have it. So you might want to collaborate with someone that has these facilities in its university. And so you might be able to share this with other people. And more importantly, collaboration helps to tackle very complex problem, more complex problem usually, because you can bring together expertise from different fields. When you are then at a more advanced stage in your research, collaboration actually are very useful to apply for grants, because they support stronger grants application. And this is why, because if you show that you're able to collaborate with someone else, it just gives an insight of your skills. It means that you're able actually to bring together expertise from different fields. It means that you're able to collaborate with other people, and it means also that you have different resources that you're on that you can use. So as I said before, so it's going to be a share of resources, and these are all important things when you apply for grants. And last but not least, there is lots of evidence in literature that collaboration actually allows you to have more impactful research, in a way like your research will gain more attention. And this is probably linked to the fact that I was saying before, that if you have collaboration, you expand your network. So it has been shown that if you work with in particular international co-authors, you will receive more citation, your work will receive more citation, and is also usually more discussed on social media. However, so there are lots of benefits, but you always have to be very careful, because collaboration are not easy, and it takes lots of efforts and a lot of patience, and lots of commitment. So it's not something that you just have to decide, okay, collaboration brings benefits, so I will just start one. No, it really requires a lot of commitment, a lot of time, and you must have a really clear plan before starting anything. So I've added here, this diagram that I've taken from a webinar by Dr. Shaikh. And so he did this webinar where he talks about his experience as an academic about collaboration. So, and what are the steps you should take to have successful collaboration. So there is a link on the slide, and then I can add a link in chat. But yeah, it's something you can have a look at. And here, basically, he speaks about the different steps you have to take to make sure your collaboration is successful. So as you see, there is a lot of scheduling time, there's a lot of division of responsibility, there's a lot of organization that goes into collaboration. So you really need to have a good plan before starting anything. So let's say you have your research question decided. So you know what you want to research on, and you know which type of collaboration you want on, because there are different type of collaboration. So let's say you have decided in your mind, do you want your collaboration to be domestic or international, so with people outside from your country, they are based outside of your country, or how it's going to be your research. So it's going to involve researchers with the same background, they're working in the same field area, so it's going to be interdisciplinary, or you're going to mix together. So you need other people that with different expertise, so that they work in different research areas. So it's going to be interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary. So to distinguish about this, which kind of methodology your project will require. So it's going to be an integrative approach between the different disciplines. So it's going to be an interdisciplinary research, or it's more an additive approach. So you kind of need the perspective from different fields. Then you can put together to solve a problem. So multidisciplinary. Or it's going to involve at all like member of the society. So like, for example, in a lot of sustainability projects, you have to involve sometime people that live in small villages to see what are their needs. So are you going to involve this member and use the knowledge of the people? So this is going to be a transdisciplinary project. So you must have all of this in mind. And once you have decided that, you can go on and start looking for collaborators. So how you can identify? So the first tips I can give you is like check first in your own network. So ask first of all advice to your supervisors, to your peers, to someone that is at your university, because it's a bit easier because you can just go and knock a door and ask for advice, right? And about that, there is a new tool on our website that I put here, which is called Find a Collaborator. So I would suggest you to have a look at this, and you can find all information about the staff of the university, what are they working on at the moment, what are they interested in. So it's kind of good if you want to start look at what the people are doing, and if you would like to work with someone inside the university. Okay, otherwise, you can use different tools that I'm going to show you today. So you can use research performance tool like Web of Science or Scopus, or academic networking sites. So today, if I manage with the time, I'm going to show you SRN and Octopus. And you can use also social media. I'm not going to look on this today, but for example, with Twitter, you can use hashtags to see who is working or what, stuff like that. So first of all, I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to stop sharing. Now I'm going to stop this presentation. And you're going to be able to see my screen still. So the first tool I'm going to show you is Web of Science. So when you type Web of Science into Google, you land on this page, and you can log in two ways. So if you have already an account, you can sign in. Otherwise, you can go down here and you can sign in through the institutional, to the institution. So you choose UK Federation here. You go to institution, type it, Aberdeen. Okay. And then it just give you institutional login. So in this, because Web of Science and Scopus are subscription databases, so they are citation databases. There are lots of information in, but you kind of pay for it, so you can access to the university. So you land on this page, let's say. So you have your idea in mind, and let's say, for example, I'm going to look for today for a topic that is quite an emerging topic, at least in the information science, which is the gender citation bias. I want to have a project on that. So I just put here my keywords, you go search. Okay. So the first stuff you encounter is just a list of the paper that Web of Science finds that are relevant to my keywords. So the default setting is that these papers are sorted by relevance, but if you don't like that, you can change and you can choose whatever you like. For example, you can put the one that have citation first, highest citation first, or whatever you like. but I'm okay with relevance, so I leave it like that. And on the left panel here, you can find a small, not small, basically the first basic filters. So if you scroll down, you can see that you have some filtering here that you can do. So for example, you can look at the categories. You can have an idea already of the authors that are publishing this paper. And here you have the publication year. So for example, let's say now at the moment, so my research produced only 291 results. So there are not too many papers. So I'm going to keep all of them. But if you do search for something else, you might have 1,000, 10,000 papers. So you might want to filter first by year. So if you are looking for a collaboration, you would like someone that is working recently. So you might select, for example, the last 4 years, and then you can refine your research. So in this case, I'm not going to do it. Okay, so you have a first filter here in this column. But if you go up, and I like it more, you have another filter which is a bit more visual here. So you press on Analyze Result, and basically here you have all the filters that you have before in the left column, but presented in a bit more visual style. That for me works much better. So you have here another, in this drop-down menu, other filters you can look at. So, but let's start from this. So the default filter you have is from the Web of Science categories. So Web of Science basically gets paper from journals and stuff like that, when index paper, there is an algorithm that looks at different keywords, and according to the keywords of this paper, they are grouped in different categories. So in this case, the paper of my research has been grouped in these different categories here. And this is already quite useful because let's say you decided to do an interdisciplinary research. So you say, I want someone, for example, from computer science. So you might go and look at this paper that are categorized under computer science. But in my case, let's say, it's because it's a new topic, I just want to look for something in my field, so information sciences. And actually here you can also see, I can also show it's that you can see that it's a kind of new topic, because if I go in the years, publication years, see, as you can see, they started from 2011, the first paper, and there is a massive increase in productivity in 2022, 2020, 21. So you can see this is the kind of topic that is receiving attention now, currently. Okay, so I want to do, interdisciplinary research. So I just look in my same field. So you can filter here, you go view records, and now you get again a list of the papers, but now only the 34 papers that I selected, okay? So again, you can go and analyze the results again. And again, you have the categories. But now, for example, I want to see which authors are publishing most in this topic. So you go in authors and you have your visualization here and a list if you scroll down. And then it's always, for this to say, it's important for you to have an idea in mind, because, so for example, for my research, let's say I would be interested to work, I'm looking for an author that's producing paper in this topic. So I'm using the author filter, but you might be more interested, for example, and say I want to work with a specific university because I know they have some kind of equipment or whatever. So you can choose the affiliation, example filter, and you can find which university publish more in this topic. And yeah, for example, let's say there is the ATH Zurich, so I always wanted to work with that. So you can go and look at this paper, who is working in this university. So it really depends on what you're looking for. But let's say in my case, I'm just interested in the authors. So here there are lots of other stuff you can explore. Okay, so there are lots of filters. Okay, so this is the author that is publishing the most in this topic. So I can go and view the records. And now have, again, the list of the paper here. So in this case, only 5. So what can I do now? You can analyze again the result, but in this case, I don't mind because there are only 5 papers. And you can start looking at the titles and see, is it something that interests me? So it's the topic that I want to look at. And let's say it is. So what can I do now? is to go and tap on the researcher. And here I get the entire profile of the researcher, okay? So basically, in Web of Science, everything is hyperlinked, which is very convenient because you can just go on and click on stuff and discover more information with just one click. But as I say, it's always a bit, you must have your idea in mind, because otherwise you might click and click and click and click, and then you find yourself far away from home. So yeah, just bear in mind what you're looking for. So in this case, so here what you have the entire profile of this author. So you can see it's a highly cited author according to Web of Science. You have the organization where it's working at the moment. And you have down here the list of his entire documents, so 487 paper, which is quite a lot. And on the right panel, sorry, you have a kind of summary of the author's matrix. So you can have, for example, you can see the H index, you can see how many times it has been published, how many articles has cited him. And then you can have also the author percentile, here to explain what it is. And you can see the citation report just by clicking here. So to see, for example, the productivity. So as you say, it's a very active researcher, cited a lot as well. And here you have all the division of the citation according to the papers that is producing. And this is a new feature also the Web of Science has added. So you can see how many papers he's the first author or the last author or the corresponding author. So it's a bit in a 50% of his paper. So pretty much more than 200 papers, he's been the first author. So yes, he's a very active researcher, and it might be open for collaboration. And here now you find a list of co-authors that he had. As well, this is quite interesting because you can always see, you can always go and explore who is working with, what these other people are doing. And just with a click, you arrive to the profile of this other person, you can explore more. Okay, so at least here it gives you a bit an idea, an understanding what these people is working on, and then you can decide, will this is my collaborator? So it's something that I'm searching for. Okay, so a different approach otherwise. So this is one approach. So like this, you arrive to one potential collaborator. Another thing that you can do is go back to the papers, and you can look at who has been citing these papers. So let's say this paper here is exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to see who has cited it. And and here, just you click on the citation and you arrive here, and these are all the paper that has cited the paper I showed you before. And in this way, you kind of, you might find collaborator in this list, because they may say, okay, they were interested in this paper, so it means they are interested in the topic and they're working on something similar. Okay, for example, you land on the gender diversity in publication activity, and they say, this is very interesting. And again, you can go and see what are they doing, the author. So you just, with one click, you arrive where you want to arrive. Okay. So this is pretty much what you can do. So another thing that you can do, if you have, for example, a paper yourself, so you want to see who is citing your research, so who is interested in your research. So you can go here, you go on the title, you tap here the title of your research, and then once you have a search, Web of Science will give you the articles that have cited you, and you can go and see which authors have cited you, and then you can contact them if you want to. Okay, so this is pretty much what you can do with Web of Science. And with Scopus, pretty much you can do the same thing, but it has a bit of different visual configuration. So again, you go to Scopus, you have to sign in. Also in this case, you're gonna have to sign in to the university. Okay. Okay, so you land on this page. When you have the search, you can search for documents, you can search for authors, affiliation. But I will just do like I did before, just to show you pretty much a comparison. So I just put the same topic. Okay, so as you can see here, the search gives me fewer documents, and this is because Web of Science and Scopus index different journals, so they have a different pool of data where they take the information from. But okay, pretty much you will find similar results. So in this case, I found 240 documents. As the same for Web of Science, you have the list of documents here, sorted by, no, in this case, it's sorted by cited by the highest, but you can choose relevance, for example. Okay. And then on the left panel here, again, you have filters where you can decide which kind of year you want. So you can start deciding what you want to look at. So the different thing here is like when you click for a filter, then you have to go scroll down at the end of the page and decide what to do. Do you want to limit your research to these years, or you want to exclude these years? So this basically is a small difference. But I'm going to keep all of them, all of the documents, because there are not so many. And then you click here on all, and then you go to analyze the search result. And you land on a page which is quite similar to the one of Web of Science, although so you have Scopus gives you it's a very nice dashboard where you can have a kind of preview everything that's going on. So in this case, it gives me documents from 1991, which is definitely too much. So you can filter from here and say, I want them from 2014. Okay. So you have here the productivity in the topic. And then if you scroll down, you have different tabs, different cards, where you can, again, filter your search. So you have documents by author, documents by source. So this is journals, basically. By affiliation, if you're interested in collaborating with a specific university, so you can go here. Document by country. So for example, if you say, I would really like to have a collaboration with Netherlands, so you can go here and filter your documents according to the Netherlands. But just to mirror what I did in Web of Science, so I start with filtering by subject areas. So again, here Scopus does pretty much the same thing as Web of Science. So you categorize the paper using the keywords, articles using the keywords, but the categorization system is a bit different. But pretty much, again, you will find what you need to find. Pretty much you will find the same result. So I will go in the social sciences. And here you have the results. Yes, the articles that have been categorized under the social sciences category. And again, you have the list. So you're going again to analyze the research results. And in this case, I go again to look for the authors. And as you can see, you find the same result. So you find the same person here. And again, you click on the person, and you're going to find the document on the topic that I was looking for. So as for Web of Science, it's all a hyperlink after hyperlink. So you can find lots of information very easily. Okay, so in this case here, if you want to look at the profile of the author, you just go here and click on the author. And you have a dashboard with the author profile. So all the documents, all the metrics, as you can see, the metrics are a bit different, as I said before, because the pool of data is different for Web of Science Scopus. And yeah, and you can analyze the outputs. So you can see, for example, where is this author publishing the most? In this case, document source, so in which journal is publishing the most? Or you can, oops, what did I press? Or you can press by subject, so you can see in which area is this author publishing the most, etc. So you can go on and explore as much as you like. One thing also you can do in Scopus, so because you log in your account, you can set alerts. So for example, if you want to know when is this author actually going to publish something new, you set an alert and you will receive an email every time this author actually publish something. Okay, so yeah, and in the same time as before, so let's say you can sort, for example, the document according to how they're cited. So let's say, for example, that now you are this author and you have published this paper and you want to have a collaboration with something on this topic. So again, as well in Scopus, you can go and click on the citation and you're going to see who has published your work. So you're going to see who is actually interested in what you're doing. And then you can, again, with hyperlink after hyperlink, go and find out information about the research and make your decision. Okay, so this is what you can do with these two citation databases. So there's a lot to explore. So this is just a small introduction. So I would suggest you to go and explore yourself and get lost in all the hyperlinks that they give. So now I'm going to show you the SSRN website. So this is not a citation database. It's more a network database, a research networking platform. So this gives more information about social sciences. So instead, and this is a good difference from Scopus and Web of Science, which instead, so they represent also social sciences, but in a bit smaller kind of way. So they mostly represent STEM sciences. Instead, SSRN is mostly for social sciences. And the big difference is that this is, as I say, it's not a citation database. So you will not find final output, but you can find network of researchers. So this is the landing page. You can sign in, but I don't have an account in this case, so I will not sign in. So you can compute your research from here, or you can go down, and here you have the different networks of researchers that subscribe to this platform. So these are the new networks, and if you're here, you can looking for network only to disciplines. So as I said before, I'm interested, for example, in social sciences, so I go here. And then you can go again. So I wanted to look something information, library science. So you land here. So and here basically is the page which give you the information of people that are in this network, researching on this network. And if you scroll down, you can limit your research here. Okay, so this is what you come out with. And as you can see, so these are not final papers. So these are usually preprints. So the publication status in most of them is under review. So it means there are articles that have been submitted to a journal, but they're still not been published yet. So they haven't finished with the peer review and stuff like that. Which is quite good because if you find someone here that is something here that is interesting to you, you might be able actually to contact an author before he finish dealing with this research project, and then maybe closing and starting with something different. So you might be able to contact someone in the middle of he's working on this project. So it might be easier actually to start a collaboration because he's working on this problem now. So let's say, I don't know now, let's say this one is what interesting me. So I just click on it. And you have here information, abstract. You can also download the paper, have a read, is it something that interesting you or not. And if it is, a good thing of this place is that if you click on an author, you go on the page of the author and it gives you directly the contact, so the email. So you can email the author directly. And as I said before, because this paper is under review, so it means it's still fresh in their mind, they're still working on it. So it might be a good point to start a collaboration. Okay. And now the last one that I want to show you, so I have a few time, is Octopus. It's not this one. Sorry. No, octopus energy. This is a very, very, very new tool. So I don't know much about it because it's very new. It has recently been launched and it hasn't been finalized yet. So you can sign in with your ORCID ID. So your ORCID is the researcher digital identifier that you can do for free at orcid.org. So you sign in with your ORCID. You can also use the institution, but I believe with your ORCID is the best. Okay, so this is a new platform and it wants to be a kind of networking, new kind of networking platform for researchers. So this is very different from anything else I've seen because instead of having papers, what happened? So what this platform does is to basically divide the research in its step. So instead of having a final product, the final paper, you can find research problems, the rationale, so the hypothesis, the methods, the results, the analysis. So you find the different steps of research, right? And you can decide to go and look what you're actually interested in at this moment. So let's say you want to start a research collaboration. So you have a research problem in your mind. So you can go and look only at the research problems. So the moment what you have here, they're all research problems that have been created by the octopus itself, just to give an idea of how the platform work and for people just to explore and get familiarized with it. Because as I say, I don't think it's fully working at the moment. So, and here you can, for example, type your thing, but I don't think there's going to be anything now on citation. No, okay. Okay, so you can look something a bit more general. I don't know, something else you find interesting. Maybe bees. So I want to do something on bees. Okay, so you find a research problem. So this means someone else is working on bees, and this is the research problem they're working on. So you can click on this, and you find, so here you would find basically the authors and the information. So, and by clicking on the author, you will find information about them. On this right panel, you find, for example, the license that all the material is coming with. So this is easy buy, which is good. You can download the research problem, but what you can do to start this kind of networking with other researchers is this. You write, for example, so if you read this and you say, this is exactly what I was looking for, my research problem can be related to this, it's very similar. What you can do, you go here and you can write a linked research problem. So you add it here. And what happens is that once you've done that, your problem is going to be linked with this one. So everybody can find out that you are also working on this same problem. Okay? And so on. So I'm sorry, because I haven't been using much, so I don't know much what to tell about this, but I've added a couple of links in the slide, couple of links on YouTube video where the creator of Octopus actually explain all the rationale behind it, and it's quite interesting. So we really suggest everybody to explore it and see what it is, if they like it or not. Okay, and you can really look, for example, if you are interested in a particular method, you can see if someone, so you can see here a list of methods people are working on. So again, these are all demo one, and so on. So I think it's something quite interesting. So I would really suggest you to have a look at it and just have a sense of it. Okay, so now I'm going to share again my slide just for concluding. Okay. There you go. So here I wrote down the link that you might find useful of all the thing I demonstrated today. So as I said before, here you have the link to Octopus and the YouTube video where you will have a much better explanation of what it is about, all the rationale behind it. And I believe it's a quite interesting tool And if it works as it should, it would be really a good way for researchers to connect and while they are actually working on project, okay? Because what is difficult on collaboration is sometimes you're contacting a person that was working on this problem maybe 2 years ago and now it just moved on, okay? Okay, so let's say you identify someone that you find really interesting and you want to start a collaboration. So you would say, how can you do that? Well, you can, so first of all, never underestimate the importance of face-to-face. It's really important. So I would suggest you like to take advantage of conferences, events, workshop, any kind of training opportunity that you have where you can meet people. And if you decided to go to a conference, be ready as well. So you can look, sometimes the conferences give you the list of attendees. So if you see that the person you want to contact is going to attend this conference, just be ready, have some material with you to show you when you will meet at the conference. So don't just go with nothing on your hand, okay? And otherwise, again, you can ask a colleague, a supervisor, do you know this person? How can I contact it? Or you can use social media, or you can use email. Email are usually very fine. The fact is that, for example, like if you want to contact someone like the author I was looking myself before that has huge amount of citation, huge amount of paper, this means that you really have to be careful of what you're going to write because you want to capture his own attention. And so you might want as well to spend a couple of days on email just to phrase everything correctly and be noticed. Okay, and then I'm just going to leave you with some tips, some kind of summary of some key points for having a successful collaboration. And as I said before, the most important thing is having a plan. So have a very clear research question in your mind and a clear idea of how you're going to investigate it. And then again, as I said before, be ready. So be informed about the background of who you want to be your collaborator, because when you contact someone, you don't want them to have to put any effort. So you have to show them that you know what you're going to do and you know which kind of contribution you need from them. So, and this will be helpful for them to say yes, because you see everything is organized. And then, of course, before starting anything, it's very important that you agree. You make some arrangements, so you agree on a schedule, you agree on the deliverables, you agree on the different responsibility, and very importantly, specify authorship. So who is going to be first author in your papers, who is going to be second, who is going to be the last, who is going to be the corresponding author. And this is always something that is very nice to have clear at the beginning of any collaboration, not to have problems later on. And then, of course, be responsible. So if you are part of a collaboration, you have to deliver as you agree. Okay, because collaboration are good for your career and successful collaboration are at the same time not good for your career. So you really have to be committed. And okay, according to which stage of your research you are, you might be contacted or not. So of course, the more paper you have out there, the more articles you have out there, the more you would be, the more there are chances that people will contact you. But what you can do at the moment is be as discoverable as possible. So yeah, just make sure all your researcher profiles are up to date. So university or KD, LinkedIn, Scopus, whatever you can. Okay, so I'm going to leave you now with this. So this is going to be our next session on the 25th of April. So I'm going to stop sharing and stop the recording. And I think there is just a couple of minutes for questions if you have any.